action.
Judas Priest, Part 2. So that riff for Heading Out to the Highway was really the riff that started me on my Judas Priest journey. Point of Entry was the first song that I really got into Priest. The first album that I bought, Point of Entry. I loved Heading Out to the Highway when I first heard that. Now, British Steel, Priest got some inroads, and I remember Breaking the Law. I didn't have British Steel, but Point of Entry was the one. And I know Point of Entry is not a lot of Priest fans' favorite, but this was my introduction to Priest. I still have the album I bought, and Heading Out to the Highway is still one of my favorite Priest songs. I was struggling on how to, because there's a lot of stuff, magazines, albums, 45s, posters, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to break this down. I've already done part 1. There's going to be part 2, 3. There's just too much stuff. So, get started. The last video I did, part 1, was on cassettes, and I did not show Demolition and Jugulator, those two tapes. But as I pulled out Demolition today, I realized this is a Russian. It says Demolition on there. So this was a Russian release. Unofficial copy. And I just noticed that. I've had that, and I just noticed that today. So those are the two. The two things that really never come off my neck and haven't come off for 20 plus years is my cross. And then the other one is my Judas Priest necklace, which broke. So I have to replace that. This is actually the necklace part. I have another one, and I had another one before that, but I've had that for like 20 years. Couple magazines from back in the day. Cream from 1980 with British Steel, and then with Point of Entry. I think that was, yeah, this is Point of Entry, because you could win the motorcycle. And they actually do a review and slam British Steel in this and say that do whatever you can to make that album feel. B.B. Buell, who actually was from Portland and lived there for a while, was married to, or had a kid with Steven Tyler, Liv Tyler. That's her mother, B.B. Buell. She was in B.B. Buell and the Gargoyles. But Liv Tyler grew up in Portland, went to school there, and then she became a Hollywood star and all that. So I'm going to break this up. I'm not going to show too many of the regular studio albums right now. There's a print ad for Hellbent for Leather. Was it a newspaper ad? Which I used to think this was from the UK, but this is American, because it's, as I was looking at this, pulling this out today, this says New Jersey. So this must have been a New Jersey newspaper that ad was in, promoting that album. So I'll move on to some bootlegs. And these are pretty hard to find. These are Korean bootlegs right here. And of course it started with Point of Entry. And most of these, in fact, I think only one of these 4 that I have was on Discogs. I had to add them. Sin After Sin. See, it's all in Korean. Every one of them is on this kind of blue-green not the best photos, not the best sound quality either. Live in Japan. But I don't really see those around very often. I don't know. I don't know if there's any more. There's, what does I say? There's Live in Japan, Killing Machine, Sin After Sin, and Point of Entry. I don't know if there's any more. I've never come across any more. So whether they did another release, I don't know. This one, Live in Tokyo 78. This is an unofficial album. Cool photos. Dead Man Records. But this album is the tour for this Judas Priest in Japan 78, which I have the tour book for. There's some really cool photos in this. See, it's all in Japanese. With Les Spinks. Glenn, the 70s look there. KK in like, he's got the sweater on. Glenn with the Les Paul. So this is the only tour book that I have left. The Screamin' and Defenders ones I used to have, I do not know. They are AWOL. So that was that. These are some bootlegs. The Ripper, this is live in 79. That's from Australia. The concert isn't, but the album bootleg is. And then we get to this, which was fairly recent. One of these, I don't know who put this out, Mind Control Records, unofficial. It says Live in New York 82 FM broadcast. Saw that online, bought that, I don't even remember, a year or two ago. Get it, open it, and I'm looking at the track list. Hellbent for Leather, Delivering the Goods, Running Wild, Diamonds and Rust, and then Tyrant, Starbreaker. And I'm like, there's no way, that's not 82. And which, this album, even though it says Live in 82, is this set list from 79. So this, I'm pretty sure, is just a repackaged version of this bootleg that came out years and years ago. I think this says 1979, printed in Australia. So whether this was a bootleg that came out then, I'm not sure. But if you see this album, it is the 79 tour. We got Devil Works. That's from Houston in 83. None of these have great sound quality. Well, I should say none of them. The unofficial ones do. but these real bootleg ones don't. Judas Priest, Somewhere Under the Rainbow. This was another fairly recent. It's on clear vinyl. Rainbow from Denver in 1980. There's other versions of this, different colors. All right, this one, live in New York, 1980. Great photo. Another radio station broadcast. British Steel. Got the Harley. I would have loved to have seen this show. Another Dead Man Records. Hellbent for Leather, The Ripper, Living After Midnight, Beyond the Realms of Death, You Don't Have to Be Old to Be Wise, Steeler, which is up there in my top 5 Priest songs, Sinner, Grinder, Genocide, Tyrant, which is up there, Killer Show. So that would have been cool. I would have loved to have seen Priest at that point in time. All right, here's one, another one, Mother Son collection of this. The songs on this were available online, and you could listen to it. YouTube used to have this stuff, and this one's on Verne Records, France. Rob Halford with the long hair. The Reading Festival. You can see some of this recording from some of this show. It's funny. It's on YouTube. You can find that. From the Old Grey Whistle with KK Downing and the hippie gear. KK does the solo in that for Dreamer Deceiver. Glenn playing the Strat. But look at Rob's long hair. That's when they're finding their way right after Glenn had joined the band. And Memphis Rockabilly. This is live in Memphis. This would have been opening with Electric Eye and Riding the Wind. So this would have been the Screaming for Vengeance tour. It's in Spanish. So I don't know if this was bootlegged from Spain or Mexico or where. But, all right, this one is not a bootleg, but I don't think there's very many copies of this. Acero Britannica. It's in Spanish. This is a Mexican. From what I understand of this, this is British Steel, but this was a copy that was given to Mexican radio stations as promotion. So it's got a completely different cover. It is officially CBS Sony. The catalog number is right. You can see, won't show up, but made in Mexico. All the songs in Spanish. But it is British Steel. Cover's in really good shape. You never see this. I can't imagine there was very many of these. The only other one I ever saw for sale, there was a guy in Israel, of all places, that was selling one of these. But I never see him. I don't really see anyone else post them, so I don't know how many of these. This was not on Discogs either. I entered it. So I'm happy to have that. And then point of entry. Couple stickers. Their old logo that I bought these. That was going to be I think a turntable sticker. And eventually it's still going to happen. I'm going to make a Judas Priest box set to put records in, whether it's going to be one for bootlegs or maybe studio albums. I haven't decided. I have the old record boxes And speaking of that, all my pre-stuff stays in this. I think this cabinet's probably from the 70s. I painted it black. It's got a record. My wife got this little record thing to glue on there for, and I keep the pre-stuff in there. So I probably decorate it more at some point, but that's what that is.
You'll probably decorate it?
Someone I know will decorate it. This is a Priest just poster that I made way back in my 20s. Just some stuff. I printed out album covers and the Hero, and this concert poster from France. The Ram It Down, which is an awesome album cover, but not a good album. So I don't really have a spot for that, but I just keep it because it's a cool collectible piece. And my turntable cover, I've got 2 of these. So I got the Sad Wings tapestry, so those are like desk covers I use. So that usually will go right on there. Another one for my other turntable. Show 1 CD. This, I pretty much have all the albums on CD, compilation stuff, but I kept them. I got rid of most of my CDs. I probably have a couple hundred left, but I almost never play them. The only CD player I have is in a boombox, so I just don't really play them, but I kept, obviously, Priest stuff I'm keeping. But this is called The Many Faces of Judas Priest, and it's got bands doing covers of Priest songs, some British metal bands just doing songs. I'm not even sure why they're on there. And some of it is stretching it. It's like someone who was in Priest, like the drummer after Les Binks, the one who passed away, was in Trapeze. I can't remember his name now. But stuff like that. But there's some really cool cover songs on here. Wolf doing Rock-a-Rolla, which is really good. Iced Earth is on here. This Winterscape doing Out in the Cold is really good. And the one that isn't on here that I really wish was Overkill doing Tyrant, which they do a killer version of that. As I Lay Dying does Electric Eye, that rocks. Fate's Warning's on here doing Saints in Hell. So, and then there's Al Atkins, Priest's original singer, doing Winter, and so there's some cool stuff. So if you're a Priest fan, that's definitely worth collecting, finding. That's not expensive. A little mini turntable, and then so why is there a Trans Am here? Well, because the Heading Out to the Highway, the song that really introduced me, my love for Priest and that riff. I also love Trans Ams, and I always put that song, Heading Out to the Highway, with the Trans Am. I just, in my head, I pictured cruising in that. And when I've had a couple Firebirds, and there was just something about that song playing in a Firebird or a Trans Am, and I don't know why, but just as a kid, and I still have that memory of putting those two songs together. And Rob Halford actually has a 69 Firebird. So, anyway, we're going to break this up because there's just too much stuff. There's studio albums, stuff, 45s, 12-inch singles. So, this is going to be part 2 of Priest, my favorite band. It still is. I've seen them the most of any band anywhere. I've seen them in multiple states. I will probably see them again. Supposedly they're working on their album, but it's been 3 years. I don't really know. And KK Downing's KK's Priest, his band, so I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, peace.